Welcome and thanks for tuning in. In this video, we'll walk through replacing the seals and O-rings for the IntelliFlo XF pump provided in the Quick Kit from Pentair. The Quick Kit comes with the mechanical shaft seal, 2 drain plug O-rings, an impeller locking screw O-ring, diffuser O-ring, pump lid O-ring, the seal plate O-ring, and a small tube of silicone lubricant. So let's get started by taking off the pump lid and then the O-ring from the groove in the top of the housing. And then we'll go ahead and take out the strainer basket. We have 2 drain plugs, one for the suction side and one for the pressure side. We'll remove these drain plugs by unscrewing them from the housing and then remove the O-rings from the drain plugs. Next, we need to separate the wet end from the seal plate by removing the 6 acorn nuts and washers. We'll use a 9/16 wrench to remove these fasteners along with the lock washers and flat washers. With all the nuts and washers removed, we can slide the wet end away from the seal plate. With the wet end removed, we can go ahead and remove the diffuser O-ring as well as the seal plate O-ring. Then we can remove the diffuser by removing the 3 retaining screws with a 9/64 Allen key. With access to the impeller, let's give it a spin to make sure it moves freely. To remove the impeller, we first need to remove the impeller locking screw. We'll use a 3/8 socket for the locking screw, and while holding the motor shaft with a 1/4" Allen key through the back of the motor cover, we'll turn the impeller locking screw clockwise to loosen since it's a reverse thread screw. Once we have the impeller locking screw out, we can continue to hold the motor shaft with the 1/4" Allen key and remove the impeller by turning it counterclockwise. With the impeller off, we can now remove the impeller portion of the mechanical shaft seal. Make sure here to get the complete seal assembly off. If the seal separates, we need to use a pair of pliers to twist and pull the remaining portion off the impeller. Next, we need to separate the seal plate from the motor by removing the 4 acorn nuts and washers holding them together. And again, we'll use a 9/16 wrench here to remove these fasteners. Once the seal plate is removed, we can use a 5/8" socket to drive the seal out of the seal plate. And now we can begin reassembling the pump. First, let's make sure the seat for the seal is clean. Make sure when handling the seal not to touch the sealing portion of the seal, since dirt and oils on our skin can cause the seal to fail prematurely or not seal properly. To install the new seal, we'll spray a solution of soap and water or alcohol and water to help with seating the seal. Then we'll use a clean 1/2" PVC coupling to press the seal into the seat. We may need to use a rubber hammer to help seat the seal completely. While installing the seal, if we did touch the ceramic portion of the seal or contaminate it, again we can clean it with a lint-free cloth or a clean tissue. Now we can reinstall the seal plate onto the motor flange and secure it with the 4 acorn nuts and flat washers we removed earlier. We'll tighten these nuts down evenly in a crisscross pattern to a torque specification of 80 inch-pounds. Now make sure the shaft of the impeller is clean, and using a mixture of soap and water or alcohol and water, we can twist the new seal onto the impeller, taking care not to touch the ceramic sealing portion with our hands. And again, if we do contaminate the seal, we can clean it with a lint-free cloth or a clean tissue. Now thread the impeller onto the motor shaft clockwise, and while holding the motor shaft with our 1/4 inch Allen key, tighten the impeller by hand. Now install the impeller locking screw, remembering it's a reverse thread screw, so counterclockwise to tighten. The torque specification for this screw is 78 inch-pounds. Now we can install the diffuser by aligning the 2 tabs on the diffuser with the 2 holes by the top 2 threaded inserts in the seal plate. Then we'll tighten the screws with our 9/64 Allen key. Now evenly apply the supplied silicone lubricant onto the diffuser O-ring and install it onto the end of the diffuser. And then apply an even amount of the silicone lubricant again to the seal plate O-ring and install it into the groove on the seal plate. Now we can install the wet end back onto the seal plate and secure them together with the 6 acorn nuts with flat washers and lock washers. We'll evenly tighten these nuts in a crisscross pattern to a torque specification of 100 inch-pounds. Now we can install the new O-rings onto our drain plugs and then screw the drain plugs back into the threaded holes on the wet end. Install the strainer basket, making sure the hole in the front of the strainer basket aligns with the intake port on the front of the pump. Now make sure the groove in the top of the wet end is clean and apply an even amount of the silicone lubricant to the new pump lid O-ring, and then install it into the groove on the top of the wet end. Make sure the lid is clean and align the notches on the lid with the notches on the wet end and tighten the lid. And that's it. The pump is now ready to go back into service.